A very good morning to you and welcome to the show. This is Full Circle with Joyce and my name is Joyce Amondiwahiga. Karibuni to another week of these episodes. Always a pleasure to have you joining with us. I trust you had a great weekend and are pumped up and excited for the brand new week. And of course, Full Circle with Joyce is here to grant you all the inspiration, genuine, authentic, educative conversations to see you through the week. Today on the show, we focus in on personal development, and in particular, we want to talk about bouncing back, thriving, and staying on top of your game. I'm going to have an author joining me in studio, and she's going to be telling us a bit more about this. In addition, later on, we're going to talk about job placement after university education. So many of you who are watching right now perhaps just graduated last year or 2 years ago, and you're on the hunt for a job. Maybe you've not been successful so far, you've not understood the process. Perhaps there are things that you did and you didn't do them so well. Hopefully today's guests can give you some guidance on how to go about that process so that you have a better chance next time. With that said, we're going to get started, but here is your inspirational word for the day. It says, you don't learn to walk by following the rules. You learn by doing and by falling over. That's by Richard Branson, who of course many of you know is CEO of many, many different companies, including Virgin Airlines. Let's read that again. He says, you don't learn to walk by following rules. You learn by doing and by falling over. And indeed, a wonderful quote this morning, even as we begin getting ready for our first segment on bouncing back. And so with that said, shall we begin with a word of prayer, as always, even as we surrender the week to the God. Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you so much for this day. Thank you for allowing us to see it. Thank you for life and for grace. We surrender Full Circle with Joyce this week to you. We surrender ourselves to you, all of our plans, our different aspirations. Would you go ahead of us? Thank you for everything that we're about to learn here today, particularly for those who've been in a place where they've had struggles, they've had issues, things haven't worked out before. I pray that today, Lord, even as we learn from our guests, that indeed you'd enable them to bounce back and to thrive in their new positioning. Thank you so much again for the privilege of this show. We love you and we bless you, for it's in Jesus' name we pray. And the church said, amen. All right, with that said, we're going to get started. Here is Brenda Dama with the song Toka Nami. Karibuni Sana. This is Full Circle with Joyce.
Sikustahili rehema hizi zote baba naomba, ombi langu, naomba, 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 omba, 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 Yesu, 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 Bwana naomba, toka kiongozi mwema, nifariji mshauri wangu, naomba, 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 toka, 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 enda nami, naomba, wewe mshauri mwema, kiongozi, mlinzi mwema, mlinzi mwema, enda nami, enda nami, enda nami, wewe nguvu, wewe amani, naomba, 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 toka nami, mlinzi wangu, mshauri wangu.
All right, guys. Well, karibuni sana to Full Circle with Joyce. Of course, to all of you who are watching us on DSTV channel 268, we appreciate you. And as well on Azam 138, karibuni sana to the show. We do appreciate you guys for being a part of us this morning. And today we want to talk about bouncing back, thriving, and staying on top of your game. That is actually the title to the book of my first guest this morning, Titan Secrets to Rising, Thriving, and Staying on Top of Your Game. Her name is Joyce Gikunju. Karibu sana to the show. She's an inspirational speaker and a podcaster. Good to have you here on Full Circle with Joyce.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get started. I'm first very curious to understand why you wrote this book. Reading the brief at the back, it talks about millennials quite a bit. So why focus in on millennials? What inspired this book?
So that's a great question. Everyone has something to say about millennials, mostly negative, but there's so much good that millennials have to offer. And some of the titans in the book confirm and affirm millennials. And they say that what they need is a little hand-holding, and they're good. Yes. They think differently. They do things differently. Yes.
Right.
Can you fetch that and make good of it? Yes.
So tell us what the book is about then, because you talk about bouncing back. That assumes that, someone has fallen, things haven't worked out before. Why bouncing back? Tell us what was sort of in your mind as you were writing this book for millennials.
Okay. So millennials have this mindset. Start small, start big actually, instead of starting small. Think big, make it overnight. And I thought, there is no such model. There's no tried and tested model to that. What is the tried and tested model is start small. Yes, think big and make it over time. That is the tried and tested method. So I thought to myself, millennials are our children. We want them to be successful.
Right.
How can we help them? So why not write a book and give them the tried and tested formula using people who have even fallen and risen and said, yes, this is the way to go.
Right.
And the fact that it is today's titans who were yesterday's failures to some people. What is the link there? It says that today you could be falling. It doesn't mean that you are a failure.
Right.
It just means that you need to bounce back.
Right.
And then you rise so that you do not get falling all the time. It's to rise, then thrive, and then get to the top of your game. But how do you follow through to make sure that you don't keep bouncing back and forth from failure, from setbacks? And that is why I wrote that book.
Okay.
What can guide you to your journey to success?
Okay.
And what's the backstory of these people that you admire? who are successful today, where were they 10, 20 years ago? You were probably, 10, 20 years ago, there were probably people who were nobodies. And some of them say, yes, I was a nobody. I was sitting broken, depressed in a park bench. I mean, how many times do you even look at Uhuru Park and ask yourself, could there be a titan there? You're just thinking those are failures. But there's somebody in this book who was once seated broken, depressed in a park bench in Nairobi, and today they're riding at the top of their game.
Wow.
What happened over the years?
Yeah.
What's the backstory?
Right.
So it's a book to encourage you that it doesn't matter where you are right now. What matters is what is in your mind and in your heart set, and where do you want to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you're just joining us, I'm talking to Joyce Gikunju, who's a speaker and an author of this book here, Bouncing Back and Thriving. We're talking about how you can rise above, situations that you've been through and stay on top of your game. And I'm very curious to hear from you. Have you been through a situation where you absolutely just fell rock bottom? I'd really love to hear how you got yourself out. Have you been able to bounce back? The SMS line is 22999. You can also reach me on our social media platforms. That's at Switch TV Kenya on Facebook. I'd be more than happy to read your comments there. And okay, so Joyce, as we continue with this discussion, obviously then human beings, we're not immune to suffering. Everyone is going to go through a tough time in life, even if it doesn't look like it, like for some people.
Yeah.
Right? So there's always that pain of loss. And I think one of the bigger challenges with the millennial generation is that we've not understood that, and more so not even understood how to deal with it. So as much as you're talking about bouncing back and thriving, right when you're in that moment, when you're in the pit, it feels like your world is crashing, right? And that's the reason we've also been talking a lot about mental health issues. So what would be sort of your principles or your steps to do when you've hit rock bottom? Where should you go? Who should you turn to? Or is it just an inner resolve that you should be relying on?
Yeah. So the thing about being rock bottom is what, first of all, people don't realize that is the best place to start. You are at the bottom. First of all, you find that it's a lonely place. If you had friends and they're not there now, they removed themselves from the situation. Good.
Right.
Now you know who's left behind. Those are your real friends. Those are your real friends. So it's, in other words, it's a good place to get a real scenario of who your friends are.
Right.
So that's the thing about rock bottom that people don't realize.
Right, right.
What do you do next when you realize that you're on your own? In the case of, for example, George Washiri, when he lost 5 million and he went into a depression, again, a mental health issue which keeps coming up. What did he do? The people who are left standing are the people who helped him get to where he is today, his wife and his pastor. So your faith is important, your faith in your spouse and your faith in your spiritual leader. And that's one of the ways in which you can get out of the pit.
Right.
What do you tell yourself? What do you feed into your mind in the morning when you get up? What do you tell yourself? Do you tell yourself, I am a failure? Or do you tell yourself, God is going to get me through this. I am not the first. So it's about the conversations that you tell yourself. It's also about the people that you hang around with. What are they telling you? And if it's not positive, are you deleting?
Yeah.
If it's positive, pick it and run with it.
Okay.
And that is why you find a lot of times when people fail, they usually turn to their parents, because your parents are like your best friends ever.
Right.
Whatever they tell you, if it sounds negative, it is constructive criticism.
Yeah.
So this mental health issue is not going to go away until, again, we also come face to face with it being like a sickness. So you don't wish it away. You deal with it. Yeah. So that's another thing about bouncing back.
Sure.
About the issue of adversity striking, the example of Sarah Karinge. Sarah Karinge is the titan in the Bouncing Back, part 1 of the book. Sarah lost her spouse, and he was like the breadwinner. And then after that, someone set their factory on fire. So that's like double arson, death of a spouse, people looked at her and told her, "You're a widow. You're not going to make it." But where is she today? Do you know what made her rise and thrive? Her faith, her determination, and her networks. A lady held her hand and told her, "Let me take you to the bank manager and you can recalculate your loan repayment." So again, when the people who are not necessarily remove themselves, who is left standing with you could be probably the people that you need. And that's how she ended up repaying that loan. That's how she ended up rebuilding her factory. That's how she ended up becoming a titan today.
Okay. So in the book then, it's divided into 3 parts.
Yes.
Bouncing back. Part 2 is rising and thriving, and then part 3 is staying on top of your game. And you have different people telling their stories, at least 3 in each segment. So you've already mentioned George Washuri, Sarah Karingi, there's James Karundu in here, Chris Sananu as well. When you look back at all of these stories, what was the one that really struck you the most?
Joan Mwangi Gilbert, her story touched me the most because her personality is really, she has an amazing personality. Her as a person struck me the most because of her personality, and also something else. Because of her many years of dealing with people, she's also very good at reading people.
Okay.
And that's a good thing for someone who coaches and mentors people.
Right.
Yeah, so you'll never get lost when you have people like this supporting you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, you can still send in your questions and your feedback. You do have opportunity to do that right now. The SMS line is 22999. You can also reach us on our social media page. That's at Switch TV Kenya on Facebook. Let me see if we have some SMSs coming in here. Yes, we do. Good morning, Joyce. I'm Irene Kendi, tuned in from Mombasa. What a great way to start the week with an inspiration from the show. I love your guest and say hi to her for me. Hope Salimika. A Full Circle with Joyce always inspires my morning and helps revive positive vibes for my day. That's Lewis watching us from Gara. Thank you for tuning in. Someone else here says, I have been in the pit for 3 years now. I don't know where to start. No job, no money, no friends, no nothing. Mental issue from an emotional problem. I am just lost. What counsel would you give to this person today?
This person needs to reach out to someone. They need to reach out to someone, because what happens is you cannot be in the pit for 3 years. There's something there amiss. The person needs to reach out, and they need to give their contacts to someone who can reach out to they need to share their contacts so that we can get someone to reach out to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody ever needs to be alone. The way the human mind and body is, the human body, mind, and spirit is designed, is you are designed as part of people. So you should never be alone. You should never suffer alone. Yeah.
I think one of the things we certainly have to talk about as we discuss this book is where a lot of our young people are today, especially even the ones who are watching right now, where there are just no jobs. I don't know if that's true. If some people would say it's not that there are no jobs, but people, okay, either way, people are having a hard time finding formal employment. In terms of bouncing back, I mean, even just by the SMS that we read, this person has said, they've not had a job. So obviously then money becomes an issue. And there's many, many people who are in that cycle. Maybe they've been jobless for a month, 7 months, 2 years, 5 years. How can we begin to encourage our young people, given where, the economics of our country are?
Great question. It reminds me of another reason I wrote this book. You mentioned formal employment.
Right.
Formal employment is shrinking. And if something is shrinking, something else is blooming. This is just how life happens. When something is going down, something else is coming up. This book is written to millennials to make them open their mind to the area that is blossoming, and that is the area of entrepreneurship. Very much misunderstood, and that is why I put this book in 3 parts, because you need to understand, for example, like Chris Senanu, staying at the top of your game. Chris Senanu's story is about someone who is currently actually in employment, but he's not employed because he needs the job. He's employed because he's an entrepreneur and a successful one at that. But because he discovered he's not a business owner type of entrepreneur, he does what is called venture capitalism. He supports people who are looking to be helped to get into a startup, a scale-up. So those are the kind of people that he assists.
Okay.
So Chris Senanu failed 4 times in business. And by the time he was done failing the 4th time is when he realized, you know what, I love entrepreneurship, but not the business owner kind of entrepreneurship. And that's why he's the kind of person you should reach out to so that he helps you. And that's what he does. And that's why you find him sitting in the lion's den. People go there and say, I have an idea. So you have to start from somewhere. Even you who needs help, you need to start from somewhere. What is it that keeps coming to your mind that won't go away and you keep brushing it aside? That's a good place to start.
Okay.
Step out. Right now, KCB Lion's Den is taking applications for Lion's Den. That idea that refuses to go away, can you go take it and present it to the Lion's Den? A little bit of courage, because in this life, I have also discovered if you're not courageous, you're going to be hiding forever. But a little bit of courage, because everything that you desire is on the other side of fear.
Right.
So to complete what you're saying about where do these millennials go? Millennials need to think like entrepreneurs, because stop thinking formal employment. You get stuck there for a long time. Even people in corporate know that is just, it's shrinking, it's going. So the informal sector is what is blossoming right now. What ideas and what things can you do? Just about anything. Quoting Joanne Wangiol, but again, everybody in Kenya is working on gold. That means we're working on a gold mine. Anything you touch can thrive.
Okay.
So it's all about shifting your mindset, looking at things with fresh eyes.
Right. I think as we get ready to wrap up this segment, as your closing comments, I'd love to hear your pointers and what you'd share with our audience members today on sort of, I'm a big believer, of just trying to stay in hope, stay expectant, stay hopeful. And in that season, there's things that you should begin practicing, right? So maybe you can tell us as you close, what are some of the habits that people should begin picking up now in anticipation for where they're going to go? Because you can't, if I'm going to drop 5 million shillings in your lap today, if you don't know how to handle, if you don't have certain principles in place, it's how we hear of people who do, all these gambling things. They get like 20 million and they're still broke, next month. So what are some of the habits or the principles you would encourage millennials to begin practicing and establishing today?
Number 1, whether you want to hear this or not, you need to start reading. I don't care if you're going to read a paperback, an audio book, an ebook, start reading. That will open your mind, and you will thank me for this even a month from now. What are you reading every single day? What are you feeding into your mind? It opens your eyes to look at things differently. And that is the first and most important thing that I need to tell you. Why? Because each and every one of the titans covered in this book said every single month, every single day, I have to read. And what do they mean by reading? Reading something inspirational, motivational, and also something heavy, So you can have one heavy book, one light book, but to read you must. That is the first step to being successful.
Right.
And that's confirmed by everybody in this book. The other thing that you do, it's very important to stay physically fit, because that's one of the things even doctors who are dealing with depression will tell you. So I'm sort of giving, I'm giving pointers, People who are taking depression medication are always told, in addition to the medication, exercise. What if you're not depressed? Why don't you exercise and see where that will take you? I don't know what it is, but there's a very strong link between being successful and being physically fit.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you so much for these pointers. Guys, I truly hope you've learned something. Do let me know what has been your biggest point, what has stood out for you the most. Again, 22999 is the SMS line, and you can also reach us on our Facebook page. That's at Switch TV KE. We're going to take a short break right now, but just as we've talked about, thriving and stepping up, we're going to have our next guest in studio, and they're going to be talking about life after university. What can you be doing right there? So stay tuned. This and much more right here on Full Circle with Joyce. All right. All right, welcome back to Full Circle with Joyce. Again, my name is Joyce Mwandiwahiga, and this Monday we focus in on personal development. And right now, I want to talk about job placement after university education. As we've just heard, formal employment isn't everything, but if you're still, desiring to get a job in the formal sector, how exactly can you do it? How can you actually hack that, understanding that, it's been pretty tough for a number of you to get in. The SMS line is 22999. You can also reach us on our Facebook page. That's at Switch TV Kenya. Do let me know what your experience is. How long did it take you to get a job? What did you do? What worked for you? Perhaps your experience can work out for someone else and share insights with them as well. But with that said, joining me on the show, I have Cecilia Nyawira from By Appointment Africa, and Bonnie Joseph from Internet Africa.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right. So, Cecilia, let's begin with you. What exactly is By Appointment Africa? What do you guys do?
We are an executive search and recruitment firm. We work with organizations to help them in the placement of mid-level and senior-level managers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And Bonnie, what do you guys do?
Internet Up is a graduate placement program. We upskill graduates so they have more employability and more job retention skills for the workplace.
Okay. Is it like a membership program, or how does someone become part of it?
It's not a membership program. We are on Facebook. So what we do, we pre-screen the applicants and would provide them with a series of digital courses which we think will allow them to be better placed within a particular sector.
Okay.
And would present these well-skilled graduates to the employers.
Mm-hmm. So you're looking at mid to senior level employees or hires.
Yes.
You're looking at guys who've just finished university.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Bonnie, let me begin with you then. Clearly there's a problem in our country. A lot of young people are not getting into the job market. I understand it's maybe 5%, I think, of formal jobs available, 5 to 6% or something like that. Yet the number of graduates per year obviously is humongous. What is the problem? Is there, beyond the economics of where our country's economy is and how businesses are doing, is there a disconnect between the skills that graduates are leaving school with and what is being sought after in the job market?
Yeah, I do think that there is a particular disconnect between the skill sets that they have from university going into the job placement. And this is where we see that there's a potential market for. So what we actually do is to provide them. And as you know, a lot of the educational systems are sort of archaic as such, and they haven't really digitized up to where we are in this modern world. And I think this is where you're starting to see a big disconnect between the student and the actual job placement. So by providing them with new, better skill sets, crisis management, critical thinking, how to develop an online business. These are the sort of skills which are really applicable in today's market, and these are the sort of skills which we are seeing become more and more needed.
Right.
But unfortunately, it's not being addressed sort of at the educational level.
Right. So this is sort of like a supplementary program. How long or what would you describe it as?
Yeah, I wouldn't say a supplementary program. I'd say it's a graduate placement program.
Okay.
Particularly focusing on upskilling them with the relevant skill sets for that particular internship job that they might apply for. I'll give you an example. Yeah. So somebody would like to intern here. We'd give them a series of courses before they came on. Therefore, they're skilled for that particular job or internship that you're placing.
Okay.
So this means that we'd work with you to develop a program that would both work for you and for the student. And unfortunately, even when I did my first internship, I was kind of thrown in there and you end up doing something like data entry, and it's like you don't really learn anything. So what we try and do is to develop this course together with you so that you win and the student wins. And once you've got a win-win situation, effectively both people come out with a positive, and this is sort of our main focus right now.
Cecilia, when we talk about, so you are mostly working on mid to senior level executives. What
Correct.
exactly, what is a mid to senior level executive? What does that actually mean?
So you're looking at someone who has a minimum of 4 years working experience and then building on to until they retire.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of times when we talk about unemployment in Kenya, we usually focus in on the youth.
Yeah.
You know, because that's a large part of our population.
Yeah.
But it is certainly true that there's still a lot of mid to senior level executives who are struggling.
Yes.
A lot of us have seen, you know, the images on social media, or the guys just, you know, on the road with the big signs saying, you know, I have a master's degree, I worked in this place, but either perhaps because of retrenchment or something else that has happened in their lives, they're currently not working.
Yeah.
Do you find placement for mid to senior executives sort of facing the same struggles that there are for younger guys trying to get into employment?
Yeah, that's correct. I feel that most of the mid-level and senior level managers that have found themselves out of employment have been because they have not kept themselves up to date with the relevant skills in the industry. So in as much as you have had, say, 10 years of experience and then, God forbid, for some reason you find yourself outside work, you have not kept up to date with the skills that are required. The technology is changing, the advancements in technology. So you really have to keep yourself abreast with what is happening to remain relevant in the industry.
Right.
Yeah. And then you'll also find that some candidates really want a career change.
Right.
So you started off as, say, doing finance, and then somewhere along the lines you feel like, I want to do something in terms of engineering or something. So you find that you really have to keep abreast of the skills in the industry and remain relevant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, we're going to take a short break in a minute, but I just want to encourage you guys to send in your questions, send in your comments. The SMS line is 22999. You can also reach us on our Facebook page. That's at Switch TV Kenya. Do let me know what your experience has been. Perhaps you've just finished university. Are you sort of understanding what Barney is saying about how you can get placed into an internship? Perhaps you've already had a job previously but have been out of work for a while. Hopefully Cecilia can shed some light for you there on how to get a job right now. So with that said, we're going to take a short break, but I'll be back in just a bit. Do stay tuned. Blah, blah. All right, guys. Well, welcome back to Full Circle with Joyce. My name is Joyce Mwandiwahiga, and of course, right now we're talking about job placement after university education. Today being Personal Development Monday. There's an SMS that came in earlier that I actually really want to read. So let me just get that very quickly. This was from Joyce. Watching us from Kirigu. You say you graduated 2 years back, but you couldn't get a job last year. So you took a loan from, you know, a mobile money app a mobile money app, and you started selling tops around your neighborhood and your church. It's not been easy, but you were able to get enough cash to sustain your needs. Thank you for that comment. I think as we continue with our discussion here with Barney and Cecilia, I think there's certain skills that people need to develop, whether you are self-employed, whether you're employed under someone, whatever it is you're doing, there's certain skills. And maybe not all of us are, you know, born to be a big-time entrepreneur. But in a sense, I feel that there is a measure of entrepreneurship that everybody kind of needs to have. And so, Barney, I want to ask you about that, about some of the different soft skills that people should be developing to not only get a job, but to also keep the job. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, you know, having been an entrepreneur myself, you know, there are numerous skills that you pick up along the way, and unfortunately the school and universities don't teach you these skills, you know, particularly things along sales, you know, how to start up a company, right? How to drive business development, how to talk to people, right? How to change your tone. If you're not getting on with someone, you can quickly change your tone and find a way to get on with them. You know, relationships is everything, you know, and it's how you present yourself and it's how you talk that is often very key. But I mean, soft skills, and you're totally right about that. that they are not available at the university level. So how do you provide them? And this is where we found an opportunity with Internet App, was to give them these additional skill sets. And you find whenever you graduate from university, I did marine biology, for example,
Wow.
and now look where I am today. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So it's a totally different change. And
Yeah.
what made that change is when I found out a lot of these additional skill sets that were out there, and I started to sort of adopt them and get into it. And then I found, actually, marine biology is not what I want to do. And here I am today on your talk show.
Yeah.
So of course, yeah. I mean, there are some very good skill sets out there, and we provide a lot of very good online courses. We've got some 1,000 courses available, which will be coming live into the market sort of around July, August time.
Okay.
And these were sort of handpicked by a bunch of entrepreneurs, but by myself as well, and obviously by Cecilia and our team. And what we've found out is some of these skills are really, really applicable, particularly in sort of these developing nations, particularly for Kenya, where we are today. And remember that the educational system was built on an industrial model,
Yes, it
which,
was.
which produced blue-collared workers.
Right, which our industry doesn't even support.
Exactly. So here we are in this white-collar nation today, and the skill sets are still the blue-collar skill sets. Right. That's where the big disconnect is, and that's where the issue is, and that's how we're trying to address it.
Okay. Cecilia, Barney did mention talking, tone, how you talk to people. These are things that a lot of us take for granted. And you can find it almost everywhere, even when you go to a restaurant. And nowadays, the person giving you service can be so casual, and you're just like, yo, honey, the cost of the food has factored in a certain measure of service, right?
Yes.
So you're like, fix that. But relationships, as he has mentioned, do matter. And there's definitely an understanding, if I can call it that, that sometimes in Kenya, for you to get somewhere, lazima ujue mtu. You know what I mean? Like, kuna mtu unajua. It's the same way as once you've come to the city, if you're a person from the village and you're the one who's sent to the city, as soon as they hear you've gotten your first paycheck, it is, how can you get your brother a job?
Yes.
So for the mid and senior level positions that you're recruiting for, getting people placed in, how important are connections? Like, let's just be real. Like, who do I need to know for me to get to a good job?
So I am happy to actually confirm that that attitude has changed over the years. The nepotism that used to be there of I have to know someone is quickly changing, and employers are basically interested in people who can get the job done. So it's about the skill sets that you have, the experience that you have, and what you can bring onto the table, and what potential employees looking into these positions need to have is a skill of building relationships.
Right.
So you do need to be able to have a measure of, you need to be able to build relationships and have that skill, which is part of the courses that we're actually providing on. So it's important that people have that, stop having that mentality that I need to know someone, that I need to have a cousin or a brother or an uncle to actually get me the job, and realize that I need to ensure that I have the skill of building relationships to be able to acquire the job and maintain the job. And so I'm really happy that the trend is actually changing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, guys, well, we have some questions coming in, so let's get to those now. Hey Joyce, I'm Wanjiku Kimani. My situation is a bit different because I finished Form 4 in 2017 and now I only have one certificate for induction to computer. When I tell my mom I want to continue with schooling, she told me to wait my time in school, or not to waste my time in school trying to get a certificate which I won't get a job. So she told me to focus on her business because it's the one from which we eat. What should I do? So it sounds like this person maybe doesn't want to be doing the family business. At this point only has one certificate. What would you advise? Maybe Bonnie, I can give that to you.
Yeah, I mean, this is very common, and of course, family businesses always tend to come first. Really what I'd advise you to do is to find out what actually you want to do. And what you want to do is actually what you love doing, and I would look at maybe seeing what skill sets that you would like to achieve. Maybe is it in sales, is it in marketing, is it in digital strategy, is it in critical thinking, is it in entrepreneurship, or some of the certificates that you have, where do you think you can better yourself? And we'll quite happily help you if you can contact us on Facebook. We'll quite happily walk you through that process.
Okay. Someone else here asks, where do we get the experience? If experience is a key issue to get a job. By the way, hand clap to whoever asked this question, because you've not given me your name or where you're watching from, but I think it's an absolutely valid question. It's something that young people complain about all the time. They say they want us to have experience. But then to get experience, I need to get a job. But the job, you know, is looking at, it's just this vicious cycle. And Cecilia, I want to throw this to you. Because you've said, for example, for mid to senior level jobs, you need to have, you know, maybe 4 years of experience. Where do I get that? If not one, they won't even hire me for 1 year.
I think it's important that to not get discouraged by the lack of experience, but to actually position yourself in the market. And how do you position yourself? You acquire the necessary skills that are required, and then you go out there and market yourself. Most of the people coming out from universities do not have the courage to actually approach an employer, for example, and say, hey, my name is Cecilia, I have this set of skills and I don't have the necessary experience. Are you really available and ready to give me the exposure to be able to build up on that? So just having the confidence to go out there and say that this is what I have and can you give me the chance, I think is what really that potential employees are actually lacking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Barney, this one's to you. What of those who did their Form 4, they haven't attended any college or university, but they have an interest in working? Can your program help someone who hasn't been to college?
Yes, 100%, of course.
Okay.
Like I said, a lot of these, so what we provide is sort of an online digital campus, okay? These courses are accessible anywhere, from your iPad, from your phone, or from a desktop. And these courses can range anywhere from 1 week to 3 weeks, and they actually provide you with specific skill sets that this digital nation that we're starting to progress into can apply to you. They're available. They're at a very low entry cost. I've taken some of them myself and I found them fantastic. And we do certify you. They've got various levels from 1, 2, 3 up to 4, depending on how senior you want to progress within that particular industry.
Okay. Good morning, Joyce. I love the discussion this morning. Thank you very much for watching. I'm an economics graduate and also a CPA of Kenya. I have applied for job openings but haven't been successful. What could be the problem? Yet I have all the credentials required for the job. Again, a great question here, because sometimes a lot of people sort of, you know, you look through, you know, you've ticked every box. Like they asked for this, I have it. They've asked for that, I have it. But still, you just never hear the phone ring. Any words for this, Cecilia?
I think just don't give up on applying for opportunities. The job market is filled with people who are actually looking for jobs. So it is, the break will come, and when it does actually come, it's about how you position yourself and how you sell yourself. So ensure that when you do get that call, when you do get that interview, that you show what added advantage do I have other than the skill set that is required. Because more often than not, employers are looking for character in a candidate as opposed to just getting the job done. So when you do get the opportunity, don't give up. The opportunity will come, but when it does come, ensure that you sell yourself and position yourself better than the other candidates out there.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for your feedback that is coming in. I want to shout out Joe Cartel. You say you're tuned in as usual. In Kenya, you must have a connection. In Kenya, you must have a connection even in a wedding ceremony just to get food or drinks. Joe, quit playing, man. Joel Gashosho Gasharage, you say you're present, locked into the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate you. Sarah Nix, you say, yes, this is very true. Asante sana. Someone else here, you say, tuko pamoja. Tunawashukuru nyote. Asanteni sana for being a part of this show. Guys, as we get ready to wrap up this segment, I just want to talk about, Barney, for you, using internships sometimes to discover a career. Because I think a lot of guys, there's a lot of pressure in Kenya. You know, you need to provide, you need to pay rent. You're the one who's come to the city. You're trying to prove a point to your parents. And so there's a lot of pressure to find the internship that pays the most and that will lead you into a job. But sometimes those experiences can really help sort of clarify for you exactly what you want to do, exactly what you're good at, exactly what you enjoy. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes.
And would you sort of advise people to use internships for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good point, and I fully agree with you on that, actually. And one of the things which I find is as soon as you expose students, or as soon as I became exposed to different sorts of skill sets, I immediately knew that what I'd studied was not what I wanted to do. And it's just through that exposure, even as such as reading the name of a course, that actually changed my mindset and changed me into what I wanted to do. At that point, I felt it in my heart, and it felt right for me to go ahead and do it.
Okay. Cecilia, maybe you can just share with us your final thoughts as far as the job market, how to get in, how to get placed, be it, you know, as a mid-level executive or even as a senior level executive. What would be sort of the one takeaway you'd want people to walk away with here today?
I think it's important that you focus on building relationships because at the end of the day, that is what will get you onto the final career path that you want to get on. So whatever little opportunities that you have, do your best and make sure that you carry on building relationships, because you don't know what that relationship and that what that connection will actually get you to.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. And how can people get in touch with you, or how can they reach you for this program? Do you work through the company's recruiting, or you work through individuals, that individuals can reach you?
So organizations will come to us and ask us that I'm looking for, say, a manager, and then we will go out to the market and find them the manager. So we actually do work with both. We have a website, byappointmentafrica.com, Facebook page as well, Twitter handle as well, and our telephone numbers is 0728 782 776.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Bonnie, I'm sure there's people who are dying to understand more about this program. I know someone's going to ask me, Joyce, it better not be expensive. So I really hope it's something that, you know, a lot of guys can afford, but maybe you can tell us a bit about how they can get in touch.
For sure. Obviously, all of you are on Facebook, and that is our dominant media channel. Internet Up Africa is the handle. We're also on Twitter. We're also on Instagram. And we look forward to working with you and to come. Thank you very much, Joyce.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for this discussion. If you've missed it, oh my goodness, please be sure to catch the repeat of the show that's running today afternoon at 3 p.m. You can also watch the episodes online. That's on the Full Circle with Joyce page on the Switch TV website, as well as on our YouTube channel. And of course, you can continue sending your feedback and your comments to 22999. With that said, here's Jimmy the Psalmist with the song Consuming Fire, taking us to the top of the hour. I'll be back in just a bit to wrap up the show. Stay tuned.
Consuming fire, I worship you today. You are the all-consuming fire. Come and manifest yourself. Yes, you've got fire in your eyes. Nothing hides from you. You see everything, even the deepest secret of men. Expose every evil, consume every wickedness. You are the all-consuming fire. Come and manifest yourself. You got fire in your eyes, Lord. Nothing hides from you. You see everything, Lord, even the deepest secret of men, Lord. Expose every evil, consume every wickedness. Give us the victory, Lord. Come and manifest yourself. Consuming fire. Consuming fire. Son, I know. You are the all-consuming fire. Come and manifest. Hey, consuming fire. I bow before your throne, Lord. You are the all-consuming fire. Man, I know. Hey, consuming fire. Consuming fire. Worship you today. Yes, you are. Son, I know. Consuming fire. I bow before you, Lord. Yes, you are. Yes, I am. Come and manifest yourself. Set my heart on fire.
Guys, thank you so much for your company this morning. Thank you for making my Monday. Maze, it's been a good start to the day as we've discussed personal development. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you to those of you who've sent in your feedback and your comments. Hopefully you guys have found some resolution, some direction. Thank you to Cecilia. You say you've been enjoying the show. Shiro, you say you're enjoying the show from Coast. Faith watching us from Muranga, Asante Sana, you talked about how to get an internship and what it really takes for a CV to be considered during shortlisting. A great question. Perhaps we can do a follow-up to this discussion based on that that you've pointed out there. Actually, you say what to include and what not to include. I think that's a fantastic show idea. So thank you so much for that, Faith. With that said, I'm going to get ready to head out for the day. May you guys have a wonderful time. May you be blessed in all that you do. And may you keep hope alive even as you continue charging forward. With that said, I'll see you tomorrow here for Relationship Tuesday. Have a wonderful time. I'll see you then. God bless.
Yeah, consuming fire. I bow before you. You are the all-consuming fire. Yes, I am.